Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. You guys are not gonna believe what just happened with Trisha Paytas and Ethan from the H3 podcast. She might have just quit frenemies for real this time, but before we get into it, please make sure to subscribe, like this video, and comment something down below. Alright, let's dive in. So, you know our girl Trish. Everyone on this channel is very familiar with her. Despite constantly saying she doesn't get involved in drama, she just might have quit the Frenemies podcast for real this time, although she's quit like 3 times before that. Anyway, so what happened is that there was a fight on the newest episode of Frenemies. It literally went from 0 to 100 so quickly. The fight was about 20 minutes long and it ended up in Trisha storming out and just walking away from the podcast, which actually, it's not the first time she's done that. But what exactly happened? Let's talk about it. Trisha and Ethan were talking about the previous episode and how Trisha didn't know she had donut crumbs all over her mouth, and apparently Ela mentioned that to Ethan and asked him why he didn't tell Trisha. After mentioning Ela, Trisha asks why they can't have her at the podcast as a guest. Trisha thinks people assume they dislike each other, and if they have a conversation on the podcast, it could be helpful to their subscribers.
Do you have Ela as a guest on our podcast?
No.
Why? Because people think like I hate her or she doesn't like me or something.
Yeah, she could probably sit in.
You just said no, now you're like,
Just a snap judgment.
Ethan said that maybe she can be present, and then he was like, Trisha, that was a snap judgment, but also said to cut this out of the podcast. Trisha then proceeds to ask why Ela doesn't want to be talked about. Ethan then explains that Ela doesn't like being talked about in the podcast because Trisha's comments make it seem like Ela dislikes Trisha, which he adds is not true. In fact, Ela does like Trisha.
Don't talk about Hila. We're cutting this part out. She doesn't want to be talked about.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
That's fucking crazy.
She doesn't like that you're always bringing her up and saying how she doesn't like you and all this because it's not true, and she finds it annoying.
And then Trisha totally dismissed what Ethan said. She calls all that BS, saying that's so stupid, that's crazy. She keeps on talking about the H3 podcast. She calls it boring and even says that nobody watches it.
And then turn the H3 podcast and boring and it'll just go down the tubes and no one will care because you guys are not honest and open about shit.
From that point, she's just completely rude and condescending. She goes on to say that they act fake and that Ethan and Ela don't share personal stuff and just hide things about themselves. Ethan tries to explain the situation one more time, asks to move on from the topic, but our girl Trisha just can't stop now, can she? And this is gonna be important soon.
Oh.
Every time
No, don't.
you
I don't
go,
care.
why does Ela hate me? And she's like, I don't hate her. It's super annoying. Why does she keep saying that?
And
And
why
it's
doesn't she
causing...
text me? Like,
Trisha said that if something is bothering Ela, she just needs to text her or talk to her about it, which is a fair point. We're not denying that.
Let's just move on.
no, but like in general, like I'm telling you now, like she needs to text me and just be like, hey, I don't hate you, you know?
Then Trisha keeps on being petty and talks about how she's the reason why H3 is popular and getting more views. More views? Maybe. But Trisha, honey, your channel has been on the decline, except when you're in drama or starting fights on the podcast with Ethan. Ethan answers her that Ela is just a bit annoyed with the situation and needs time. Trisha asks what is the situation exactly, and Ethan is like, well, it doesn't have that much to do with you, it's more between her and Moses. I don't want to get in the middle of it. And then Trisha brings out situations where Ela mentioned Trisha while texting Moses, and while they were arguing, Ethan is trying to be understanding of Trisha getting mad and flipping out. He's not necessarily attacking her, he acknowledges her having a moment. Ethan again tries to explain the situation. She says she is fine and that they can move on, but at the same time she keeps on attacking and hating on Ela and Ethan. Girl, like, pick a side please. Are you over this conversation or do you want to keep adding fuel to this fire? Trisha mentions that Ela is a public figure as well, so she should not be complaining that someone talks about her.
Good.
She has a fucking podcast. When you have a podcast, you're talked about.
Just doesn't want you
good. She's too
not
good.
too good.
Don't mention my name. Meanwhile, you guys can talk about whoever you want. Yeah, she's not a fucking private figure. She has a
No, but
podcast on this
you guys
channel.
are fans.
Trisha also asks, is Ela too good now for this podcast? Then Ethan keeps on explaining that every time when Trisha comes in for the podcast, she complains that she wasn't greeted and that Ela was rude to her.
Hey, can we have her as a guest? And then you're like, cut all that, actually. She doesn't want to be talked about, period. Oh, okay, she's too good for this podcast. All right, cool. I don't give a fuck.
No, because I know she needs some time.
Okay, cool.
I'm away from all this.
Great.
Trisha, on the other hand, claims she has never said that Ela was rude to her.
You start off always by saying, I came in and Ela didn't greet me and she was super rude. And Ela's like, that's
I
shit.
totally didn't say that. When
You
did I
say that
she
about
was
me
rude
too.
to
And
I
she's
never said she was rude to me ever.
You say she doesn't greet you nicely.
I've
like
never
that.
said that about Ela, ever. I've said that about you. I've never said that about Ela. Show me where I said that in a video or anything. I never said that once about Ela.
After that, Trisha says something along the lines of, Moses doesn't like you and you don't like him. That's cool. And Ethan is like, this is exactly what I was talking about. You keep on saying things like that and you cause problems between them and their family.
That's up. That's the kind of
assholes.
shit you say that makes Ela mad, because you go, Moses doesn't like you, and so
For her
what
to
you're
be
doing,
like,
you're doing is you're causing
no.
problems in their family.
That's so not true.
Trisha starts calling Ela names, calls her a. She says she doesn't ever want to come back there.
You're with her brother.
I won't come back here. Like,
And she makes this comment about them having a nanny to look after their son. Ethan asks her what she means by that. Like, is she trying to attack their parental abilities? Trisha keeps on being sarcastic, mean, and rude as fuck. Oh, meanwhile, she's all like, I didn't say anything about your parenting. I just said if I had kids, I wouldn't have a nanny.
Can we move past this?
when I have a kid, I'm not gonna have nannies. That's for damn sure.
What does that mean? You're not gonna have a babysitter when you have a kid? How are you gonna do anything? You're gonna. What does that mean? You're trying to attack our parental abilities?
Let's just move on.
Even has the nerves to say that he is projecting onto her. Girl, where? Maybe it's you, Trisha. Maybe it's Maybelline. Trisha keeps on saying Ethan is putting words in her mouth when he's actually confronting her about her comments. Later, Trisha has a breakdown. She's very upset. She even starts screaming, while Ethan is yet again trying to explain the situation calmly.
Fucking.
Okay.
I literally don't care. Literally, I don't want to come back because I really fucking hate her. Dumb. I think we should just end it, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too.
She's such a bitch.
She's not.
And you are too, and you're.
All right, you should leave. We'll talk later. Yeah, you should get out.
I'm not. I am going, but
Yeah.
we're not talking later.
At the end of the episode, he tried to be fair to both sides. Ethan said that Trisha was right, that Ela should probably talk to Trisha in person as well if there are any issues between them. But he also mentioned that Ela actually likes Trisha. They both support her relationship with Moses. He says that he understands her emotions and he's going to try to fix it. Now, both Trisha and Ethan and Ela made videos following the episode. Here is what Trisha said in her video addressing everything. Her video was over 45 minutes long, but here are some of the main points. She said that Ethan asked her if she wanted the episode out, also says the episode was awful, her behavior was rude, and that she has a hard time keeping relationships.
My behavior at the end was horrible. Like, this is something that I struggle with.
Trisha mentioned she likes the dynamic between them. She knows it's entertaining and doesn't mind the joking around, and kind of compares it to her relationship with David Dobrik. She says she wanted to move on with the episode, but in reality she kept on going at Ethan and Ela. Like we already saw. See, I told you it would come up.
And really just dragging me, to be honest. Like, they dragged me.
However, Trisha claimed she is triggered by the way Ethan talks to her, feels like she's getting dragged by H3, and that they joked a lot about her relationship, constantly talking about it.
But, like, you can't talk about me and my relationship and say it's jokes, but then if I say, oh, Ela hates me, which is clearly, or maybe not clearly, but it really is a joke.
Through the whole family, she presents herself as the victim. She presents Ethan's words as she's trying to divide and separate Moses from his family and so on. Trisha says that she repeatedly wanted to hang out with them, but in the podcast, she always says that they're not friends, they are co-workers. Why are they texting her so late in the night? She keeps on twisting the situation around.
I don't believe I've ever talked nasty about Ela, ever. I've never...
But then Trisha says that she's embarrassed, that she cried hysterically, and that she talked to both of them and apologized, which is good, but by her mood and tone in the video, it's kind of hard to tell if she actually acknowledges the situation or is she still on the defense.
It's awful. I felt instantly awful. I was, like, hysterical. I will never be able to take that back. I'm always going to hold on to it. I will always feel bad.
And some of the comments on the video were actually very objective to the situation. People were holding her accountable, giving examples of when she's contradicted herself plenty of times, and here is what most people thought of the situation. And like I mentioned, Ethan and Ela also made a video addressing the whole fight, and here's a little summary of what they said on their live stream. So Ethan begins saying that he immediately texted and called Trisha after the fight. He apologized to her, saying he doesn't really know how to act when she has a moment like that. Then she apologized to him and Ela.
After she ran out, I immediately texted her and apologized. I said, I'm sorry that you're so upset. She sent me this really big beautiful apology.
Hila also explains what actually annoys her that Trisha says stuff like, you guys are unwelcoming. Ethan also gives an example of the moment when Trisha and him were arguing.
Because I felt like it's so far from the truth.
She said, Moses doesn't even like you guys or his family, so who cares? And I was like, and I said, that's why Ela doesn't want you talking about her family.
Ela mentions she felt bad about the situation and she should have talked directly to Trisha in the first place. Then she spoke to her and Trisha also apologized to Ela.
But when you guys talked about it, she said, well, why didn't she just tell me directly? And so when she said that, I really agreed with that. I was like, I have her phone number. I should have just messaged her directly instead of putting you in between.
After that, though, Ela talks about Trisha's video on the matter and says that she doesn't know which word to take from Trisha. Ela says she's confused because on one hand, Trisha apologized and Ela knows that Trisha doesn't really mean the bad parenting comments. But on the other hand, after watching that video, she doesn't feel like Trisha was being truthful. Ela also talks about how it gets messy because her brother is involved in this and all of that arguing is just not something she wants to deal with or able to handle right now. Ela also explains her frustrations with Moses. She says that she has asked him why Trisha is talking like that about him. Then Moses explains to her apparently that Trisha's comments are just for show and for entertainment, and Ela's like, well, if someone is making that comment so many times, I would accept it as a truth. Ela also says that she confronted her brother on why he let Trisha continue make these comments all the time, because most people probably wouldn't like someone to speak of them that way.
People throw in weird comments like, hey, he doesn't even like you guys, or you guys never call him, you don't even care about him.
Close, you don't know anything about him.
And to me, that's not true. I don't know, if someone repeats something so many times, it becomes true to me.
And that's pretty much it, you guys. I know this video was long, a lot of back and forth. Trisha, Ethan, this and that, but I hope you got caught up with the tea and enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think about all this. Do you side with Trisha or Ela or Ethan? And do you think they went overboard or nothing? Do you want Trisha to quit frenemies or maybe they should work things out? A lot of people have been saying the podcast is really entertaining, so maybe they'll move past this. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every single week. All right, bye.